There seems to be a lot of disagreement on the current state of WWE and the build to WrestleMania, and the previous episode of Raw over in Glasgow is no different. It has spawned a lot of internet conversation about where we actually are going into WrestleMania, and I want to talk about it. Either subscribe on YouTube or follow on X if you want to be a part of these in the future, by the way. That's where I post this prompt and I pull from both. Let's just jump right into this. I understand that they're trying to tell us the story that the pressure is getting to Jey, which is causing him to mess up. And I like the idea of using last week's botches in the story. But if you're going to do that, have him intentionally botch something harder to do than running. I want to talk about the Jey part because I think that's an interesting perspective. First of all, my opinion on it, I agree. I do like that they are turning the mistakes that he has made into part of the story. Whether any of the previous ones were intentional or not, I don't feel like is important. And you can say that it was. I agree that it probably, the flip over the rope probably was an actual mistake. I like that they are turning it into something instead of playing like we're all stupid and we didn't see it. I think it would have been way worse. I understand you have an issue and we're going to get to that. I think it would have been way worse if they keep just acting like Jey, is having this generational run up until WrestleMania and then going on to potentially beat Gunther. So I like that. I'm 100% on board with making this a part of the story arc taking us to WrestleMania. Now, for you to say, if you're going to do that, have him intentionally botch something harder to do than running, I disagree there. I'm going to play devil's advocate for a brief moment. Let's say the jump over the ropes last week was an intentional botch. Let's just pretend for a second. I don't think it was. I think it was an actual mistake. But let's just play for a second like it was on purpose. That is a much harder move to get off than just taking off running for a spear. But there's already this message behind him with a lot of the fans that he's not a very good wrestler. And so if he intentionally botches these things that are hard to do, I think it would go over a lot of fans' heads and we would just be sitting here bashing him all the way through WrestleMania. I don't think we would buy that this is a part of the story if he was constantly just doing all these really difficult maneuvers and making mistakes. I think adding in, well, one, you have a difficult move in terms of doing a flip over the ropes and landing on two people standing outside of the ring, but then you mix in something as simple as running across the ring, just the tiniest slip up, showing that something is getting to his head and it's not a skill issue. If he's only botching things that are really difficult, I feel like then they're portraying a skill issue, which I don't think they really want to be projected on the Royal Rumble winner. I think if they have him make mistakes on the fundamentals and things that you would think would be automatic, but Gunther is so in his head, he's literally tripping up and slipping up. I think that tells the better story that they're seemingly pivoting to kind of lean into the mistakes that he has obviously made in the previous weeks. On the topic of Jey, I do like that they involved Jimmy. I believe that him being the tag partner, the mystery partner, was a great decision. Sure, the Joe Hendry pop would have been great in Scotland, but I really think that they needed to not ignore a great opportunity to advance this story. I was disappointed at first because I was expecting that Gunther was going to beat up on Jimmy during this tag match, maybe interrupt it while Jey is busy, attacking Grayson somewhere else, and Gunther just beats the hell out of Jimmy, and that prompts Jey to want to come help him. So I was bummed at first that it didn't happen like that, but then seeing Jimmy, by the way, slap the hell out of Gunther. You need to look up that clip. Actually, no, here it is. Greatest slap I've ever seen in or out of wrestling. That was nuts. I'm pretty happy that they're setting up a match between those two because that does give the opportunity for Gunther to do some really dirty stuff to Jimmy either during or after the match, prompting Jey to come out and bringing out this side of Jey, which, by the way, the conversation that happened between Jimmy and Jey, I think was a really good turning point for Jey's character going forward as well. I think him trying to reach that inner part of Jey that is not just the Yeet Man and actually, that guy that he remembers, that right-hand man, that main event Jey, because whether you believe so or not, I do think there is a transitional difference between main event Jey and this Yeet version of Jey. When he first started being the main event guy, I was still very much behind it. And then like a lot of other people, when it went full Yeet, I could see why there would be a disconnect with believing in Jey. I don't know if you know this, but there's actually a free tier in the Patreon where we put a ton of content in general, but every month you get a bunch of stuff for totally free. So if you want to go check out the Patreon without paying a dime, just see what it's like over there. I update the free videos every single month. And if you ever want to upgrade later and watch a ton of wrestling matches with me and my fiance and the rest of the community, you could always upgrade at any point. Check it out. Link will be down below. Back to the video. Bianca's heel turn has to be on the horizon, especially considering the negative reaction that she's received for 2 consecutive weeks. Also, I already knew going into the show that the crowd was going to be awful and not as loud as Barcelona or Italy or even Belgium. Okay, I don't know if I would call the crowd awful. It was definitely still a solid crowd. But if you're referring to the crowd not having like any reaction to Io Sky coming out, I'm with you there. I'm so surprised that it seems to be this constant thing where it's like it's one of those weird disconnects where the internet seems to love something and the in person just doesn't quite give it off a lot. Usually it's the other way around, but all I see on the internet is how much everybody loves Io Sky. But it's so strange that when her music hits, which by the way, great theme song, but when she comes in, it doesn't seem like there's much reaction. It's so surprising to see the disconnect go in that direction. As for Bianca's heel turn, I don't know if you're going to get it. I feel like Bianca is too like dug in the ground as a babyface, probably the biggest female babyface in the entire company. I'm not thinking too hard on that, so correct me if I'm wrong, but that's who I think of when I think of the biggest female babyface in the entire company. I think it has been a weird reaction over in Europe because she doesn't get these types of booing reactions in the US or anywhere in North America from what I have seen. I don't think they're going to do a heel turn on her just because the European crowd has been booing her, seeing as they only have what, 2 more shows over there, maybe 3, I think 2 or 3 more shows in this European tour anyway. So I don't see them doing a full heel turn on, just for a crowd reaction that is definitely temporary. And once it gets back to the US, I think it would be, I don't know about all that. It does seem like Rhea Ripley is going to be like the heel of the trio. But if you are right and they are going to do a heel turn with Bianca, they have the opportunity to do that. Her being the special guest referee definitely opens the door if they wanted to do something like that. We missed out on years of a heel John Cena, and that sucks because he is incredible as a heel. These promos are god tier. So we talked about in the previous video that we did like this after the initial John Cena heel promo that a lot of us wanted some more out of it. We wanted a little bit more in terms of referencing why he joined The Rock instead of it being directly at the crowd. But I really do think Cena actually hit this one on the head. I think him going a little bit further into this and actually enlightening us in I guess you could say a deeper level of exactly how predictable the crowd is and how they react. And there was the one part where he started talking in rhythm and starting to talk about how easy the crowd makes it. And the crowd started whatting him, and he definitely had planned for that because the final line was, when I talk in rhythmic tones, you say what, and the crowd whatted, and he just said, you make this way too easy, something along those lines. It was great. He really does. When you have that much experience, it's so clear. John Cena just knows how the crowd is going to react. It doesn't seem like he's really guessing at this point. He has the WWE crowd in the palm of his hand, and it's really cool to see. So I agree with you. It would have been cool to have a previous reference point, but as someone who wasn't around then anyway, I'm chilling. I'm good. You guys are the ones that pissed him off, not me. He's talking to you out there, not me. I love the comedy we have with El Grande Americano, and I wish WWE had more comedy storylines right now besides Grande and Truth. I'm also a big fan of where this has gone, and I know there's a lot of people that were criticizing what the WWE was doing with Chad Gable previously. They're saying they wanted him to go for the IC title when he did. But clearly, and this is an assumption on my part, I should say, I shouldn't say clearly, but I feel like when you re-sign a contract, there is a discussion of where things are going with your character and what the plan may be if you stick around and if you sign. And it sounds like Chad Gable was looking forward to getting so much TV time and exploring this side of his character. Because this has been really cool to see. I have loved what he's been doing with American Made. I think it's actually a faction that's coming together, and it's making me like the Creed brothers a lot more. I already liked Ivy, but it's making me like their faction as a whole. And this detour that Chad Gable has made doing this lucha thing, which I'm sorry, we don't know for sure that it's Chad Gable, but that is what a lot of people, that's who is the accused at this point. My question is this something leading up for a WrestleMania match, or is this something that we're just getting on TV? Because I feel like the crowd would be into this enough if you keep doing what they're doing and generating the heel heat for this Americano luchador character. I feel like you could get a really good reaction, and I actually think it would be worthy of a WrestleMania spot. I don't know exactly where it would land because I don't see them putting this in a feud that's going to last between now and WrestleMania, but wherever it goes with it, I am totally down for Americano versus potentially an El Generico. I've seen that rumor around. I thought that would be hilarious. I don't think they would ever bring it out, but that was one of the funniest memes I was seeing, is if we could get Chad Gable being Americano, and I don't know, it's maybe like a Sami Zayn could replicate the greatness that used to be El Generico. I think they could play those roles pretty well just to put on a show. Give me Grande Americano versus Nacho Libre at WrestleMania. I don't have anything to say on this. I just thought this was funny. And should I finally go back and watch that Nacho Libre movie? It never interested me growing up or anything, but now that I watch wrestling, I think maybe I should go back. back, maybe on the Patreon. The use of AI and the Gulf of America in the Grande Americano video was the point, to garner heat. I don't support the use of either, but this is the only situation where I've seen it was used because they knew it would upset people. I agree. I did notice very quickly that it was AI generated imaging, and while my reflex was to be like, oh, that's kind of lame, I realized the whole point was that it was supposed to be portrayed that Gable put together this. That's why immediately when it was over, it cut to Gable being like, wow, look at that guy. I can't remember exactly, but Gable was involved with reacting to the video. So it was very clear that it was insinuated that his character was the one who quickly put it together. And it fits a heel that a heel would take the shortcut of just putting a bunch of AI images in. And then obviously with the big bold text of Gulf of America and his character being the Americano, I thought it was very obvious what they were doing. I see a lot of people on the internet, it kind of went over their heads, or they just don't care. Maybe it didn't go over your head and you just don't care, and it still pissed you off because you don't want them to do it anyway, which that's fair. I mean, I'm in favor of AI for certain specific things, but AI art is not one of them. Especially if it's an opportunity where you could have paid an artist. But I think this makes sense. I think if you're going to use it for something, this falls under a situation where I get what you were going for. Dom hits Braun after Braun puts his hands on them. Bell instantly rings. Rhea shoves Bianca and Bianca hits back. Let's keep it going. Like someone said with the pass out endings in the few weeks ago, the WWE needs to be consistent with these things. It's a little bit of a slap in the face. I'll be quick on this one. I just saw this one. I feel like this is just a ref discretion sort of thing. I don't think they need to be consistent on it because if they had it the exact science in every single one, it kind of leaves very little room for any sort of creativity and kind of spicing things up, you know, in the little nuances of the match. So given that I have been told when I used to question this kind of thing that it is technically a ref's discretion if they believe that it actually interfered with the result of the match or something along those lines, I think it's fine. I agree that it's strange to see those things happen so close together, but I don't think it's a big deal. I honestly wasn't a big fan of the Cena and Cody promo. It wasn't bad, but I just want to see it more. I do think they're building up to the eventual back and forth promo, though. It will be good. I agree. It is going to be good. I think it's very intentional that John Cena has not fired back at Cody yet. And no, I don't think it is because they are protecting Cody. I think Cody can keep up with Cena enough to not look obliterated. Obviously, I think Cena would win in any direct 1v1, especially if none of it is like really planned out between the two of them and they're just firing back and forth. But I do think Cody could keep up to not look terrible in a promo battle with John Cena. Instead of protecting Cody here, I think this is just another layer of what John Cena told us during the first promo. You're not getting this new look. You're not getting a new theme. You're not getting a new Tron. You're not getting anything that you want. I gave you everything you wanted for a long time. And I think this is just one little extra layer of, I know you want to see me cook Cody. I know you want to see me go all out and make him look like a fool. Like you want me to bury this guy. I'm not going to do it. I know you want me to. I'm not going to do it. I'm not saying he won't ever do it, but I think this is an early resistance to it. Just like I think changing the theme or the look could be something that changes later. I think it could slowly evolve over time. I mean, he already is wearing darker colors, so technically the look has adapted a little bit. I don't feel so confident in the idea that he would change his theme, but if it happened, I would more so believe it would happen over time. Just like I believe, like you said, this is building up to a back and forth. But they're not giving it to us right away, and Cena's not giving it to us right away. That's why he is the one, when Cody tries to fire at him, he walks out. He's like, I ain't doing it. I ain't giving you what you want. Maybe I'm exaggerating, but it seems like they aren't firing on all cylinders for these international shows because they know the crowds will go crazy for anything, and it's carrying them. I don't like that I agree with this take, but I can see the perspective, and I would believe that the WWE would do this. Now, I've been enjoying the shows, but I completely agree that it does feel like, especially around this time last year, I'm not even trying to compare it to the main storyline last year of Cody and Roman and how hot that was, but it did feel like we had a lot more going all over the place and more matches that it felt like we were warmed up for and excited for WrestleMania. I would not put it past the WWE to recognize they have booked a few weeks where they can just sprinkle a little bit here and there, and the crowds are going to make it feel like a better show. we can all agree that matches can be elevated by a crowd for sure, regardless if you're in the camp of if you think it's too much. There are definitely situations where a normal match can feel like a bigger match because the crowd reactions are big. And I'm not going to act like WWE would never take advantage of knowing that fact. I guess we're going to find out in a couple weeks here, actually just a little over a week when they do return to the US, if we get some of these heavy hitting storylines once we're back in the States. So yeah, they could be playing averages here. They could be just playing a little bit of story over here, knowing the crowds are going to be high, and then when the crowds are going to dip back down, they're going to hit us hard, and then at the end of the day, the crowd level might end up evening out, leading up to WrestleMania. Multi-Mania, all these multi-man matches, it feels like such a cop-out, mashing stories together to get everyone on the show and satisfy egos instead of a real depth to stories. Not to mention the ChatGPT level repetitive segments every week. They rely on the international crowds to carry the shows because the writing isn't what it's been the past 2 years of a refreshed Triple H run product. I think there's truth to this. I think it's a bit exaggerated. I don't think it's that bad. I agree that it's not even just WrestleMania. When we build up to PLEs and you start to see a lot of triple threats or fatal four ways for a title. I agree that it takes a little bit out of it for me. Maybe I just don't like the group matches that much unless there's a special stipulation for it. It is surprising that we are in an era of 2 nights for WrestleMania and we are still getting this many group related buildups, but just because that's what we're getting during a current buildup, I don't necessarily know if I believe that it's going to result in that. For instance, the Bianca, Rhea, and Io situation, I don't think that is a lock to be a triple threat for Mania yet. I think it is definitely teetering towards it, but it seems like Pierce is putting on a lot of resistance here. So I could see them resolving this before WrestleMania and having it result in just being the 2 of them for the actual main event, or not main event, but for the actual like payoff at WrestleMania. Now, the repetitive segments every week, I'm kind of with you a little bit. It feels like they're jumping from show to show. And it's like, all right, if we have CM Punk there, the crowd's going to go nuts. He can talk a little bit of crap. And then, the crowd will go nuts and we move on to the next one. Okay, what happens at the next show? Okay, we'll bring out Seth. No one else will be there. The crowd will sing a song for a few minutes. He'll say a bunch of stuff that's just already known, and he's just kind of poking and prodding at a rivalry that we already know exists. And the crowd will sing a song some more, and then we go on to the next show. Okay, what's the next show? We'll bring all of them in. They'll talk for a minute. They'll punch each other on the side, and the crowd will go nuts for a few minutes. And don't worry, we'll have at least 15 minutes for all their entrances for the crowd to also go nuts for. I think you're onto something there. I really think they are kind of, I don't want to say coasting because it does feel kind of disrespectful because there are definitely a lot of workers putting in some really good work during this. But when it comes to the overarching actual like placement of these segments and the writing of these segments, it's not that it's bad. It does seem like they're holding back. And I think I think a few of us here, I've seen both on the YouTube side and the Twitter side or X side, I do feel like there is a little bit of phoning it in or at least idling and waiting for the big stuff to hit once maybe we get back to the States, which does suck for the European fans. They are very passionate and they have, in my opinion, a great crowd. I know it's not everybody's opinion, but I do really think they add a lot to the show. And I don't think you should take advantage of that and just give them something because they'll go for anything. I think you should have rewarded that a little bit. And I don't really feel like we're doing that. If you want to keep talking about this, head down to the comments. I'll see you there, or I'll see you over in the Discord. I'm active in there as well as hundreds of other people that are constantly talking in the Discord 24 hours a day about any and all types of wrestling. That's AEW, New Japan, TNA, WWE, and everything in between. So if you want to discuss this further, I'll see you over on the Discord or down in the comments. Thank you so much for watching this much of the video. I really do appreciate it. Thank you to the patrons flying up to the screen, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.